morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody who loves SAP and technology. Excited to be here. My name is Arjun Krishnamurthy, and I have my colleague Sarah Lottman, both of us from Deloitte. Today, we're going to discuss a very exciting topic, which is so dear and near to my heart, which is edge innovation with generative AI powered by SAP BTP. What does that really mean? And in this context, especially when everybody of you who's touched and felt and heard at least about ChatGPT, large language models, and generative AI and how it has actually exploded from a consumer perspective. But what does it really mean from an enterprise perspective? Deloitte's AI Institute did survey and research where we started realizing that this is not just mere fad or an excitement of a shiny star out there, but it's real. We are noticing that our clients are making significant investments when it comes to AI and generative AI and allocating capital to drive that. It's not only that, but also considering future of work and the impact that this is going to create to the workforce. The thought is not just from a broad enterprise perspective, but also very specific functional and objective and outcome related focus that is out there. From an SAP perspective, Deloitte has created over 100 plus AI and generative AI use cases that are very focused on outcome, powered by BTP and the entire ecosystem. Again, like I mentioned, these are not just edge use cases, but these are use cases that our clients can pick from different functions, whether it's finance, procurement, supply chain, customer experience, you name it. These have been defined with an outcome-centric focus in mind. But how do we enable it? SAP and the ecosystem is always powered with good structured data. What can we be doing more when it comes to generative AI? And how can we be doing it? And why should we even do it? These are some exciting questions that come up in our head. Our approach and thinking here is multi-layered. And it is an ecosystem that is powered by SAP and SAP partner alliances. What you see here in this picture is the green, the core, that is, we expect it to be clean. That's your traditional modules of finance, supply chain, and sales, where you've got clean, good, organized data that is well governed and sits there, that represents your entire enterprise. And then you've got the blue layer of innovation platform that is powered by BTP. This is the layer where you actually create unique innovations that create and untaps the value that the core is sitting on. Imagine things like process automation powered by build process automation tools powered in BTP, or DataSphere creating a plethora of analytics capabilities that unravels the insights from that core that sits in. But all of these that you're looking at and that blue layer of innovation is innovation based on good, structured, organized data. We've seen success in the marketplace where SAP's BTP and the ecosystem of applications create the value from the core. But how can we go further in the frontier in this world of GenAI? Here's our proposition. The last layer that you see on the top, those are the LLM components that you can top on top of BTP, which includes all sorts of unstructured data that typically organizations keep it on the side. Imagine the current world where you have data being extracted off of SAP, then combined with unstructured data from outside through emails, through spreadsheets, through other Word documents, PDF documents that includes policies, feedback, history, external narratives, internal narratives, analysis, economic indicators. All of this unstructured data has to be combed through by a human and then triangulate that with the structured data that SAP has. Our proposition here is SAP connected and powered with LLM can bring both structured and unstructured and create unimaginable destinations that we have ever even thought of. Imagine a world where you have a financial analyst co-pilot that can not just give you dashboards and an analysis from a numbers perspective, but give detailed commentary like a real true human of how and why and where these kind of things happen that represent the numbers that you see on your reports. Even going beyond that, you could actually ask questions that are both structured and unstructured so that you can get human-like responses similar to how you would actually get from your analyst in your organization. That is just one example. Imagine you have a co-pilot to support your supplier negotiations. Imagine you can actually do personalization recommendations based off of what you're seeing in social media combined with the pricing and sales data that you're sitting in SAP. That's the power of outcomes that we can see with LLMs sitting on top of BTP. Arjun, this is all great, but how does it really work inside the systems? This is TechEd. We need to see under the hood. That's why we've got my colleague, Sarah Lottman, who will walk us through how does it really work under the hood. Sarah?
All right. Thank you, Arjun. Good afternoon and good morning. My name is Sarah Lottman. And just like Arjun said, right, I'm going to explain what does all of this exciting technology mean from an SAP perspective, and what does it mean under the hood? So what I'm covering here is Deloitte's point of view when it comes to Clean Core and how SAP's AI capabilities actually enable and facilitate a Clean Core. What you see with the diagram on the left, it's the old way of implementing SAP. And in this mode, your core, it's saddled with technical debt, which means it becomes harder to take advantage of new SAP innovations. And remember, business is constantly changing, and they need to be able to pivot quickly with the changing market conditions, and it's hard with technical debt. And finally, it's impossible for the enterprise to realize edge innovations in this model. But those days are gone. So what you can see on the right, this is Deloitte's approach to Clean ERP, which fixes what was wrong with the traditional ERP implementations. And really, we view this holistically in a way that covers all aspects of technology, which of course includes integration, app dev, data, and analytics. But then the topic of today is AI. So how does SAP's AI portfolio actually help with Clean Core? Number one, SAP has started delivering AI-enabled content packages that we can leverage out of the box. These sit on BTP, they can be deployed, you can customize them to fit your actual needs, and then they can be consumed quickly. SAP also offers acceleration of custom-built solutions that use the most common AI scenarios. And what we're doing here is we are decoupling your customizations from the core using SAP's AI capabilities as the starting point so that you're not starting from a blank canvas. Secondly, the AI capabilities on BTP, they also enable the acceleration of actually getting to a Clean Core. Let's talk about CAP GPT. So SAP partnered with OpenAI to build a GPT-based CAP model, which of course is the development language that runs on BTP. So based on a business requirement, I can input a business requirement based on text. And what this solution does is it'll generate a CDS view data model. It'll generate my source code as well as unit tests. And as developers, it makes our life easier. And of course, it's aligned to Clean Core. So generative AI, or GenAI for short, is all about creating something new that did not previously exist. It generates new content such as text, images, source code, like the previous CAP GPT example. And it's an evolution from the prior iterations of AI, which could only draw really a distinction between different types of input. So just to give a simple example, if you look at HR, traditional AI, it could tell me based on a person's resume if they are a fit based on the job description that I input into the model, and it's going to give me a confidence score. But with generative AI, I can now automatically write job descriptions and I can generate interview questions that are tailored towards the specific candidate. But what does this mean from an SAP perspective, and what components of BTP as well as the broader ecosystem allow us to achieve this? So number one, BTP applications can now leverage any LLM. That stands for large language models. And LLM is an essential part of GenAI in that it can mimic human intelligence. And it does this by analyzing huge volumes of unstructured data, like Arjun talked about it. And it allows us to connect patterns in order to generate the content that I've talked about. So SAP is opening up their capabilities with the outside world to enable us flexibility to leverage SAP's AI offerings. And we can also use the broader ecosystem when required. And this is where AI for developers come into play, which you can see in the upper right. The ability to leverage LLM for unstructured data coming from outside SAP is very powerful. Look at the business case of just forecasting future demand for products or services. We can actually use algorithms to analyze historical data. And this could be structured data coming from SAP and then unstructured data coming from the outside world, like social media, Google reviews. And using GenAI, we can understand what are the inventory requirements and what do we need from a staffing perspective for the enterprise. And this type of work would have been tedious, really manual, or entirely impossible before. And next up is specifically, what does SAP offer in terms for AI on BTP? Starting with AI business services, these are the pre-configured pre-trained models that SAP offers based on business data that we can leverage. These models already exist as prepackaged content, and they can be accessed via an API and integrated into your custom scenarios. An example of that, right, is document information extraction. It can automate reading fields from a document, or business entity recognition. It can detect and highlight entities from unstructured text. Both of these are common scenarios within SAP. And like I said, they can be easily consumed within your applications. AI Core allows us to deploy and manage the AI models that integrate natively with your SAP solutions. I view it really as your foundational layer of AI within BTP. You use it not only for the pre-configured SAP solutions, but also for open source frameworks, which you want to embed within SAP. It is hyperscaler agnostic, and it speaks to how SAP is opening the reach to many different solutions available in the market. And it's really a complement to AI and BTP. And then finally is the AI Launchpad. It gives us the ability to manage your AI scenarios across different AI runtimes. AI Core is one of them, but it could be hyperscalers, it could be open source. And essentially it's the glue, it's the user interface that brings everything together. And then over on the right, we're talking about AI for data science as well as analytics for BTP. And the component that brings this to life is SAP DataSphere. So a lot of different platforms, hyperscalers, etc., data platforms have amazing machine learning capabilities. They have a lot of tools for our data scientists, but the tools almost always work best when the data that we're processing is within the same platform. And oftentimes I see data replication as being a hard requirement to be able to make sense out of SAP data. But the issue is that when we move SAP data outside of a source system like S4, we lose the business context and we run the risk of out-of-date data when it's being consumed. And DataSphere allows us to connect and manage data real time across the various systems in the ecosystem. It also uses an open source library called FedML. It allows data scientists to federate the data needed for machine learning on the hyperscaler platform in real time, and there's no need to replicate the data, and that is really powerful. And here, the business doesn't typically ask for specific solutions by name. And really, how could they? If you look at all the text on this slide, there's so many options. They're rapidly evolving to provide different opportunities. And these solutions are going to continue to change. But Deloitte has a framework that we've used on multiple projects in order to select the right service, depending on the situation at hand. So an example I want to give is around automation. I get the question so many times, Sarah, when it comes to automation, what is the right tool and why would I select it? So at a recent client, they were looking for a solution to build automations within SAP, but they also saw opportunities outside of SAP, and they asked us, what is the right approach? And we used our framework of predefined criteria and a questionnaire to evaluate the options. And we try to look at everything from a 360-degree view, not only from a business scenario perspective, which is important, but also looking at what is the actual architecture and scope. So based on this exercise, SAP Build Process Automation was the solution of choice for SAP. There's a bot store. It has over 250 pre-built automation scenarios tailored directly towards the SAP ecosystem. You can search the store, you find the scenario, you deploy it to BTP, and then you can customize it if it's required. But then the business has that solution in their hands very quickly. Another output of this exercise is that UiPath is the best tool of choice for SAP to non-SAP. So based on the business scenarios, the systems in this client's landscape, our framework determined that UiPath had the best out-of-the-box connectors and, of course, the coverage for the business processes and scope. And what you're often going to find is that there's not a single solution to fulfill all the requirements, and that is where having a framework becomes absolutely essential. So I'll wrap this up with a simple architecture slide. As you can see, the AI components discussed are in BTP, but there's a lot of other services in the platform, as most of you know. So workflow capabilities, we have DataSphere, we have build process automation, just to name a few. And the idea is that you have the flexibility to integrate AI along with all of these, along with LLM for unstructured data on the hyperscalers to realize the full AI opportunities for the enterprise. So with that, we've concluded the session today. Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And we are excited to share more details. You have our contacts. Reach us anytime. Look forward to having detailed conversations about AI, GenAI, and how SAP can create value for you. Thank you very much.